remembered the first time she heard about humans. She was very young, sitting on her grandmother's lap in their small home on Prime. The night was cold and the wind was howling outside. Her grandmother held her close and spoke in a low voice, as if afraid the humans might hear her even from across the galaxy. "They come from a world of death," her grandmother said, "a planet so dangerous that everything there learned to kill. The humans were the best killers of all. They did not stop. They did not rest. They chased their food until it fell down dead from running. They could run for days without stopping. Days, little one." Small body shook with fear. Her antennae pressed flat against her head. She looked up at her grandmother and saw the old scars on her carapace. Long, ugly marks that never fully healed. "I was there," her grandmother continued, "at Station Meridian when the humans came. Their weapons tore through our bodies like we were made of paper. They kept coming. We killed 10 of them and 20 more appeared. We killed those and 50 more came. They would not stop. They did not know how to stop." From that day forward, grew up with the same fear that every child on Prime carried. The humans were monsters. The humans were death itself, walking on 2 legs and smiling with their horrible teeth. The Galactic Council had locked them away on their death world, and everyone prayed they would stay there forever. Studied hard in school. She learned about all the species in the galaxy, the gentle who sang to their plants, the wise who lived for 1,000 years, the brave warriors who protected the weak. All of them had one thing in common: they all feared humans. The teachers showed pictures of Earth, oceans of poison water, mountains of fire, storms that could tear apart entire cities, and everywhere predators, animals with claws and teeth and venom. The humans had grown up fighting all of them. They had won. "A human can survive injuries that would kill any of us," one teacher explained. "They can lose limbs and keep fighting. They can bleed and still not die. Their bones break and heal stronger than before. They are not like us. They are something else entirely." Became a communications officer on a merchant ship called the Gentle Dawn. She was proud of her work. She helped connect traders across the galaxy. She sent messages of peace and commerce. She never thought she would have to face the monsters from her grandmother's stories. Then one day, everything changed. The Gentle Dawn received a distress signal. It came from a colony ship called the Hopeful Journey. The ship was carrying 2,000 colonists to a new world. Among them were 400 larvae, the precious children who represented the future of their people. But something had gone terribly wrong. The engines had failed. The ship was drifting toward a dying star. Captain gathered everyone on the bridge. Her face was grim. "The rescue fleet will take 12 days to reach them," she said. "The Hopeful Journey has 6 days before their life support fails. The cold will take them first. The larvae will freeze to death within hours." Felt sick, 400 children floating in the darkness, dying slowly as the heat left their ship. "There must be something we can do," she said. "We are too small," Captain replied. "We do not have the equipment for repairs of this kind. We can only watch and hope." Hope, such a small word for such a big need. Then the second signal came. It cut through all other communications like a knife. The voice was strange, speaking Galactic Common with an accent that made the words feel heavy and rough. Had never heard anything like it before. But she knew, deep in her hearts, exactly what she was hearing. "Vessel, this is the Earth ship Steadfast. We are 4 hours from your position, preparing to render assistance. Please respond." The bridge went silent. Every officer stopped moving. Captain's mandibles clicked together in a pattern that meant pure terror. Felt her legs go weak beneath her. Humans, real humans. Not stories or pictures or warnings. Actual humans flying through space coming toward them. "It is a trap," whispered the navigation officer. "They want to eat us. They want to hunt us. This is what they do." "They say they want to help," said. Her voice sounded strange to her own ears. "Humans do not help," replied. "They destroy, everyone knows this." Captain raised one limb for silence. She stared at the communication panel as if it might bite her. "What do we do?" she asked, speaking to no one in particular. "If we refuse them, the colonists die. If we accept them." She did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. Thought about the larvae on that dying ship. Small and helpless and innocent. They knew nothing about humans. They knew nothing about fear or death or the terrible stories that adults carried. They only knew that they were cold and scared and wanted someone to save them. Captain said, "We have to let them try." Captain looked at her for a long moment. Then she closed her eyes and made her decision. "Open a channel," she commanded. "Tell the humans they may approach." His hands shook as she sent the message. Somewhere out there in the darkness, the monsters were coming, and all she could do was wait and pray that the stories were wrong. The human ship appeared on their screens like a dark shadow moving through space. Watched it come closer and closer. Her hearts were beating so fast she thought they might burst. The ship was called Steadfast. It was smaller than expected. The stories made humans sound like giants who flew in massive war machines. But this ship was simple and clean. It moved smoothly, changing direction with small bursts of fire from its engines. There was something scary about how well it moved, like a predator swimming through water. "All weapons ready," Captain commanded. "Security teams at the airlock. Everyone else stay back." Was chosen to be part of the greeting team. She did not know if this was an honor or a punishment. Her legs felt like they were made of water as she walked to the airlock door. 6 security officers stood with her, holding their weapons tight against their bodies. The Steadfast connected to their ship with a soft bump, heard metal touching metal, then silence, then the sound of the airlock cycling, letting air flow between the two ships. This was it. In a few moments she would see a real human with her own eyes. The door opened. Forgot how to breathe. The human was tall, much taller than her. He had dark hair cut very short against his head. His skin was a warm brown color, like wood that had been sitting in the sun. He wore simple gray clothes with a small picture on his shoulder. The picture showed a blue and green ball, Earth. But it was his face that caught attention. His eyes were dark and deep. They moved across the room, looking at each one by one. Felt those eyes touch her and she wanted to run away. This was a predator. Every part of her body screamed danger. Then something strange happened. The human's face changed. The corners of his mouth went up. The skin around his eyes got soft and wrinkled. His whole body seemed to relax, like he was meeting old friends instead of aliens who feared him. He was smiling. Had learned about human smiles in school. She knew that when humans showed their teeth, they were not being aggressive. But knowing something and feeling it were very different things. This smile hit her like a wave of warm water. It said things that words could not say. It said, "I am not here to hurt you. I am here to help. Trust me." "Hello," the human said. His voice was deep but gentle. "My name is Park. You can call me. We are here to help." Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The security officers kept their weapons raised. Captain's antennae were pressed so flat against her head they were almost invisible. Did not seem bothered by any of this. He kept smiling and waited patiently. Finally found her voice. "How many of you are there?" 12 on the repair team answered. "The rest of my crew will stay on our ship. We don't want to crowd you or make you uncomfortable." He looked at the weapons pointed at him. "I understand you're scared. We know what your people think about us. But right now there are 2,000 of your people dying on that colony ship, including children. We can help them. Will you let us?" Captain stepped forward slowly. "Why?" she asked. "Why would you help us? We are not your kind." Smile faded a little. He looked sad now. "Because they need help," he said simply. "That's enough reason for us." The captain stared at him for a long time, could see her fighting with herself. Every instinct told her to send these creatures away, but every thought told her that the colonists would die without them. "Very well," Captain said at last. Bring your team aboard, but know this, human. If you try to harm any of my people, we will fight you with everything we have." Nodded seriously. "I would expect nothing less. Thank you for trusting us." More humans came through the airlock, watched each one carefully. There was a woman with short black hair named Shin, a young man with kind eyes named, others whose names did not catch. They all carried tools and bags of equipment. None of them carried weapons. They moved with purpose, talking to each other in quick words and hand signals. Within minutes, they were ready to go to the colony ship. Stopped next to before he left. "You're the one who convinced your captain to let us help, aren't you?" Santini twitched with surprise. "How did you know?" "I saw it in your eyes when the door opened. You were scared, but you were also thinking. That's rare." He smiled again. "Thank you. Those children are alive right now because of you." Then he was gone, moving toward the colony ship with his team. Stood alone in the corridor, her mind spinning with confusion. The story said humans were monsters, but that smile, those words, that gentle voice, none of it matched what she had been taught. Maybe, she thought, the stories did not tell the whole truth. Or maybe the humans were simply very good at pretending. She would have to wait and see. Asked to join the repair team on the colony ship, Captain did not like this idea but insisted. Someone needed to watch the humans. Someone needed to report what they were really doing. The captain finally agreed. What saw on the hopeful journey changed her forever. The colony ship was in terrible condition. The engines were dead. The heating systems were failing. Ice was forming on the walls. The colonists huddled together in the warmest sections, wrapping themselves around the larvae to keep them alive. Their breath made small clouds in the freezing air. The humans got to work immediately. Had never seen anyone work like this. Led his team into the engine room where the temperature was so cold that its joints began to hurt. She wrapped herself in extra layers of clothing and still felt like she was dying. But the humans just kept working. She watched Push's hands deep into broken machines. His fingers turned red from the cold. His breath came out in thick white puffs. But he did not stop. He did not complain. He just kept fixing things. "Does the cold not hurt you?" asked the woman with short hair. Looked up from the wires she was connecting. "It hurts very much," she said, "but hurting is not the same as stopping." "I do not understand." Smiled. It was a tired smile, but still warm. "Humans are good at pain. We have lived with it for a very long time. Our bodies break, but we keep going. It is just how we are." Watched and learned. She learned that humans did not sleep like normal beings. They took short naps of 3 or 4 hours, then went back to work. She learned that they ate while working, chewing on small bars of food they kept in their pockets. She learned that they talked and laughed even when things were difficult. Strange jokes that she did not always understand, but that made the work feel lighter somehow. On the second day, a section of wall collapsed. The metal fell with a horrible crash, screamed and jumped back. When the dust cleared, she saw one of the engineers trapped under the wreckage. His name was. He was crying out in pain, his legs crushed beneath heavy beams. Before anyone else could move, was there. He grabbed the metal with his bare hands and pulled. The muscles in his arms stood out like ropes. His face twisted with effort. The metal groaned and shifted, pulled harder. Blood appeared on his palms where the sharp edges cut into his skin. With a final shout, he lifted the wreckage high enough for others to drag free. Dropped the metal and fell to his knees. His hands were torn and bleeding. He was breathing hard, sweat dripping down his face even in the cold. The young medic ran over and began wrapping bandages around the captain's hands. "You should not have done that," he said quietly. "You could have hurt yourself badly." "Had to," replied. His voice was rough. "No time to get tools." Moved closer. She stared at the blood soaking through the white bandages. "You injured yourself for one of us," she said. "For someone who is not human, who is not your friend or family." looked up at her. Despite the pain, he was smiling again. That same warm smile that did not match anything she had been taught about his species. He needed help, said. That is all that matters. But the stories say your kind only cares about yourselves, that you take and destroy and never give. Smile became sad. The stories are not wrong, he admitted. We have done terrible things, wars, destruction, cruelty beyond measure, all of it is true. He held up his bandaged hands. But this is also true. We can choose who we want to be. Every day, every moment we make that choice. I choose to help. My crew chooses to help. That does not erase the past, but it can build something new. Did not know what to say. Everything she believed was being shaken apart. The monsters from her grandmother's stories were supposed to be simple, evil, easy to hate, but was not simple at all. He was complicated and confusing and somehow beautiful in his determination to do good. Why did you really come out here, she asked, into space, so far from your home world? Thought about this for a moment. Because we wanted to prove that we could be better, he said finally. Earth knows what we are capable of, the good and the bad. Some humans came to space to find new things to conquer, but some of us came to find new ways to help, new chances to be the people we always wished we could be. He stood up slowly, wincing at the pain in his hands. The work is not done, he said. Those children are still cold. Let us go warm them up. Followed him back to the engine room. Her mind was full of new thoughts, new feelings, new possibilities. Maybe the stories were true, but maybe they were not complete. Maybe humans were capable of both terrible darkness and incredible light. And maybe, just maybe, they were choosing the light. On the fourth day, death came for them all. Was resting in a small room on the colony ship when the alarm started screaming. Red lights flashed everywhere. The walls shook. She ran to the command center as fast as her legs could carry her. Captain was already there, staring at a screen that showed the dying star nearby. Something was happening to it. Bright waves of light were pouring out from its surface, rushing toward them like a flood. Solar flare, said. Her voice was empty, hopeless. The radiation will reach us in 2 hours. Felt her blood go cold. Can we shield against it? With our damaged systems, no. The radiation will pass through our hull like it is not there. Closed her eyes. The colonists will be dead within minutes of exposure. The larvae will die first. They are too small, too weak. 2,000 lives. 400 children. All of them about to burn from the inside out. Wanted to scream. They had worked so hard. They had come so close. And now this. A random burst of energy from a dying star and everything would be lost. Then the communication panel crackled to life. Hopeful journey, this is steadfast. It was his voice. He sounded calm, too calm. We see the flare, we have a plan. What plan? Demanded. There is nothing you can do. Our ship is built to handle radiation. Yours is not. So we will put our ship between you and the star. We will take the hit for you. Silent, complete and total silence. Could not believe what she was hearing. That will kill you, she said. The radiation will cook you alive. Maybe, replied, but maybe not. Humans are hard to kill, you said so yourself. There was a hint of humor in his voice. Even now, facing death, he could still almost laugh. We are moving into position now. Tell your colonists to get to the center of the ship, as far from the outer hull as possible. It is going to get rough. The Steadfast began to move. Watched on the screens as the small human ship flew past them and turned its back to the star. It hung there in space like a shield, putting itself between the flare and the colony ship. Why are you doing this? Asked, her voice cracked with emotion. Because your children deserve to live, answered, and because this is who we want to be. The communication cut off. The flare was coming. For the next 6 hours, could do nothing but wait and pray. She sat with the colonists in the deepest part of the ship. The larvae were gathered in the center, surrounded by adults who used their own bodies as extra shields. Everyone was silent. Everyone was afraid. Outside, the Steadfast was burning. Could not see it, but she could imagine it. The radiation hitting the small ship like a wave of fire. The hull glowing white-hot. The systems failing one by one. And inside, 12 humans huddled together, refusing to move, refusing to run, refusing to let innocent people die. Hours passed like years. Then finally, the alarm stopped. The red lights turned off. A message came through the ship's speakers. The flare has passed. Radiation levels are returning to normal. A great cry went up from the colonists. They held each other and wept with relief. The larvae chirped with confusion, not understanding why the adults were making so much noise. Sat alone, her body shaking, tears running down her face. They were alive, all of them. But what about the humans? Ran to the airlock and demanded to be taken to the Steadfast. She had to see. She had to know. What she found broke her heart. The human ship was a wreck. The outer hull was black and twisted. Some sections had melted completely. Smoke filled the corridors. Machines sparked and hissed. The air smelled like burning. She found in the command center. He was lying in his chair, barely conscious. His skin was pale and covered in sweat. His hands were shaking. Small devices on his collar had turned completely black, showing how much radiation he had absorbed. Sat nearby, his own face gray with sickness. "We got the worst of it," he said weakly. "But we have medicine, treatment. Most of us will survive." "Most," repeated. Looked away, he did not answer. Knelt beside. Up close, she could see how sick he was, how much he had sacrificed. His body had absorbed poison so that strangers could live. "You did not have to do this," she whispered. Opened his eyes. Even now, even dying, he managed to smile. "Yes, we did," he said. His voice was barely a whisper. "This is who we are, not the monsters from your stories, not the killers, just people trying to do the right thing." He reached out and touched her arm gently. Tell your people what we did here, not to make us heroes, just to show them that we can be more than what they fear." Took his hand carefully. His skin was hot with fever. "I will," she promised. "I will tell everyone." Closed his eyes and smiled. And stayed with him through the long night, watching over the humans who had given everything for strangers they had never met. The rescue fleet arrived on the 6th day, just as the colony ship's power was finally restored. 20 vessels surrounded the hopeful journey, their captains demanding explanations for what had happened. How had a crippled ship survived? How had the colonists escaped the solar flare? And most importantly, why was there a human vessel nearby? Captain told them the truth, every detail, the distress call, the human response, the days of endless work, the moment when the Steadfast became a shield against the fire of a dying star. The captains did not believe it at first. Humans helping aliens. Humans sacrificing themselves for strangers. Impossible. The stories said otherwise. The history said otherwise. Then the colonists came forward. One by one, they shared what they had seen. Engineers talked about humans working through freezing temperatures without rest. Medics talked about sharing his own medicine to heal wounds. Parents talked about human crew members playing with the larvae, making funny faces to keep them calm during the worst hours. The evidence was overwhelming. The truth was undeniable. Humans had saved them, all of them. Stood at the observation window as the rescue fleet surrounded both ships. She watched small vessels move between them, carrying supplies and medical teams. The Steadfast looked even worse in the full light. A broken, burned thing that had no business still flying. But its engine still glowed. Its crew was still alive, most of them anyway. The door behind her opened. She turned and saw walking slowly toward her. He looked terrible. His skin was still pale, his eyes surrounded by dark circles, but he was on his feet, moving, living. "You should be resting," said. I needed to see this. Stood beside her at the window. All those ships, all those people who came to help. This is what I love about space. In the end, everyone helps everyone." "Not everyone," said quietly. "The Galactic Council locked your people away. They called you monsters. They taught their children to fear you." Nodded slowly. "We gave them reasons to be afraid. My people did terrible things, I will not pretend otherwise. Wars that lasted generations. Weapons that could destroy worlds. Cruelty that makes no sense even to us now." He looked at her with those dark, deep eyes. "But we are not only that. We are also this. People who fly into danger to save strangers. People who take the burn so others do not have to. Both things are true. Both things are human." Thought about her grandmother, the scars on her carapace, the fear in her voice when she spoke of Station Meridian. That fear was real. That pain was real. But so was this. "How do we choose?" she asked. "How does your species decide which path to walk?" "One person at a time," answered. "One choice at a time. Every human carries both possibilities inside them, the monster and the protector, the destroyer and the builder. We wake up each day and we choose, again and again and again." He smiled, that warm expression that had changed everything for. "Most of us are trying to choose good. We do not always succeed, but we keep trying." "Why? What makes you keep trying?" Was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft. "Because we believe that trying matters, even when we fail, even when it hurts, even when the galaxy looks at us and sees only the worst of our history." He placed his hand against the window, reaching toward the stars. "Out here, we have a chance to write new chapters, to be the humans we always hoped we could be. That hope keeps us going." Felt something shift inside her. A wall that had been there her whole life, built from fear and stories and warnings, was starting to crumble. In its place, something new was growing. Understanding, connection, maybe even the beginning of trust. "I have to tell people about this," she said. "About what you did, about who you really are." "Will they believe you?" "Some will not, but I will keep telling the story anyway." She turned to face him fully. "That is how change starts, is it not? One story at a time." Smile grew wider. "Now you understand." The Steadfast was preparing to leave. Its crew had done everything they could. Now they needed to get home, to find repairs, to heal. But before they went, reached into his pocket and pulled out something small and round. It was a patch, the same image he wore on his uniform. Earth, the blue and green ball hanging in the blackness of space. "Take this," he said, pressing it into his hands. "When people ask about humans, show them this. Tell them about our home. Tell them about the people who came from there and flew across the stars to help strangers. Tell them the whole truth, good and bad. Let them decide for themselves what to believe." Held the patch carefully. It was light and simple, but it felt like the heaviest thing she had ever carried. The weight of a whole species, all their darkness and all their light, resting in her hands. "I will," she promised. Nodded. Then slowly and carefully he reached out his hand, hesitated for just a moment. Then she placed her own limb against his palm. His skin was warm, his grip was gentle. "Thank you," he said, "for giving us a chance." "Thank you," she replied, "for proving that chances are worth giving." The human smiled one last time. Then he turned and walked back to his broken ship, ready to fly home. Watched the Steadfast leave. She watched until it was just a small point of light among the stars. Then she looked down at the patch in her hands and made herself a promise. She would tell the story, all of it, the fear and the hope, the monsters and the protectors, the old warnings and the new truth. The stories spoke of beasts called humans, but now had a different story to tell. A story of a human who smiled at her and changed everything she thought she knew. A story of strangers who became heroes. A story of hope reaching across the darkness of space. And she would make sure the galaxy heard it.